What's going on, everybody? It's Monkey Farm. We are back on Hermitcraft. I have a well-protected railway system now. I decided to put fences all the way around it and everything. I may end up rebuilding this like underground and have it pop back up out here because I kind of like it better without it. But actually had a couple creepers blow up on me. I was just riding the train back, and along that side, I wasn't actually going fast enough, and the creeper just blew up right in front of me because I was turning a corner in the minecart, and it just gave him enough time to explode. So I decided to put fences up everywhere. But we have something super awesome today, and it's an extension of what I built previously here, this messy redstone thing. You kind of can't see it because I covered the hoppers with blocks so that nothing would fall in them accidentally, and all this kind of looks messy because this is the stairway up to the ladder. Anyway, aside from that, we are going to automate this mob farm so that we can go AFK, and the way I'm going to do that, why don't I refresh your memory real quick on what we did here. This is just my on-off switch. If I turn this off, we have 15 blocks in here, and this is a little hopper timer. So when I push the button, currently, the 15 blocks will come in here and power the water up there in the mob spawner pads. And then, actually, why don't I just push it for you? So I'll push the button. See, this light comes on. That's powering all the redstone torches all the way up to the top, the mob spawner. This is going to go up to, I have 16 blocks actually, I think. And then it's going to count back down to 0. It seems like it's going really slow. But anyway, is that going slower than normal? I think the server is just running slower right now. And then, of course, the light turned off, and now the water is not washing mobs off of the pads up there. So instead of waiting a couple minutes and pushing the button every couple minutes, what I'm going to do is have this hopper timer activate another hopper timer, and then have that hopper timer be longer than this 16 blocks. I'm probably going to put it like a whole stack of blocks in there, and that will be maybe a minute or so, something like that. And then it's going to come back and reactivate this hopper timer. So it's just going to keep going in a loop. But the reason I have to do kind of two separate hopper timers is because we have two separate times. We have the 16 block time, and then we're going to have a stack of 64 blocks over here. Alrighty, I'm back. I have a couple comparators and a couple repeaters so far. I just decided to smelt some smooth stone for that. Okay, so what we're going to do is, the first thing we need to do is get this 10-second, or however long this is, the 16 block, it's roughly 10 seconds, something like that, maybe a little more. We need to get this from a solid pulse to a quick pulse. So we are going to change this out and change this into a quick pulse. And this is actually like the quick pulse I use in my cocoa bean farm, which I built a couple episodes ago. And we just need to loop that back. So that is going to give us a single pulse. You'll see this block will be powered, which will re-power the mob spawner. So keep an eye on that. And then what you'll see over here is just a quick pulse rather than a solid pulse. So let's watch both of those. Okay, so it shut off and then shut back on, or turned back on. So obviously we're going to invert that signal before we put that into the next hopper timer. We need to clear out some space here. All right, we're back. I've dug out a huge area back here so that we'd have a little bit more room. This was getting totally claustrophobic in here. As you can see, the hopper timer itself doesn't really take up that much space, but we are kind of cramped in between the vertical wiring here that goes up to the mob, the spawner pads to turn on the water, and then we're blocked on the other side where the mobs fall down here. So anyway, I dug out a lot of space, so hopefully things will look a little bit better. Obviously, this could be a lot more compact if we had planned out a larger space to begin with. But anyway, we'll do the best we can with the space we have. So anyway, where we left off, this was our quick pulse. So we're going to need to invert that signal before we give the pulse to the next hopper timer, and I'm pretty sure that will work. The reason I did it on the side is just because I want the hopper timer closer on this side so that we can circle back and put a signal back into the first hopper timer. All right, so let's put that power into a block. So we'll basically get a pulse, the equivalent of clicking the button on the first hopper timer. This will be a pulse into this block for the second hopper timer. That block is kind of the equivalent of that one. So I'll just build the exact same thing that I did 2 episodes ago. So if you missed that episode and you want a more slower, more thorough explanation of what I'm doing, go ahead and go watch that video. I took my time on that one, but if you're a follower, you already saw that, so you don't need the complete explanation again from me. So we are going to power this side up, and this is where we'll keep all our blocks. We're going to use like a whole stack of blocks on this timer, and that is actually it. So what we need to do, we need to get a signal back to the beginning of that timer, or clock, whatever you want to call it. But we don't want it to be a solid signal. We want it to be another pulse. We just want it to be a pulse, not a solid signal. So if I put a signal back into there from here, that would be solid. I'm going to do it off the side instead. Anywhere off of this hopper will work. Now, I am going to need another quick pulse, and I'm going to do this a little bit differently. I'm going to invert the signal first, and there's a very important reason I need to do that, and I'll tell you in a second, but I just want to build the other quick pulse. 2 extra ticks there. Got that. Okay, so the reason this needs to be powered like this is when we have blocks in here, I'll show you in a second, but what'll happen is if I didn't invert this first, we would get a pulse when this clock started rather than when it's complete. In other words, when this hopper is empty. And we don't want a pulse in the beginning. We want the pulse to be after this 64 blocks gets back in, right? So that's why, if that didn't make sense, leave me a comment and ask or something. I'll try to explain it better, but I think that should have made sense. Anyway, we're going to have to invert this again. Did I run out of torches? And, whoops. Okay, so that's off normally, and then I can't use redstone here because that will get powered. So I'll put a repeater just to point back into this block, and that will be the equivalent of clicking the button again and starting the whole process over. Okay, so I believe we're ready. I hope I didn't do anything wrong. But when I click this button, this will start the repetitive process. This is going to go for 16 blocks back and forth, and you'll see this light will turn on, that torch will turn off. we'll see a pulse come through here. This hopper timer will start, and then what you'll see when this one is complete, you'll see a pulse, if I did everything correctly. So let's watch everything. Okay, so this is on, that is off, so that means there's water now washing the mobs off the top. And this will turn off in a second when the mobs are fully washed off. And come on. And that is off. So now the water is no longer washing the mobs off the spawner pads. And now we're waiting for the second pulse to come back from this clock. And sorry, I will cut the video just so that you know. But basically, these blocks are all transferring over to the other hopper. And then once they're all over here, this thing will realize it's empty, and it'll start going back the other direction and shut off there. So as you can see, the countdown has begun. So we have 64 more blocks to go. And then once this is empty, that'll shut off and do the little quick pulse and give us a signal into that block. So I will cut the video. Okay, we're back. We only have about 12 more blocks left, so I'm going to get out of there. So once that is empty, we should see a pulse here, and we should see everything start back over again, and there we go. So that gave us a pulse, started that clock. The mobs are getting washed off, and there we go. So we don't have any mobs up there, unfortunately. But now that this clock is running, we can actually head up there and take a peek. Oh, I know why there are no mobs. Because it's dark and they're all outside. So, why don't I sleep real quick? Oh, I guess it's not dark enough, but it's always raining, so we're going to have to fix that if I ever want to get mobs up here. The other thing I may do is build a roller coaster up there so that we won't get mobs down in the caves below us spawning around me. They'll be more likely to spawn up here. So anyway, that's the deal there. Let's go up to the very top one. And I'll cut the video again just so you don't have to wait for this whole thing to reset. But the water is off currently, as you can see, and I will cut the video back once the clock turns on. There we go. The piston's lifted up, the slime block's lifted up, the water will wash off for, what, 10 seconds or so, and then it should shut off once again. There we go. So everything now shuts off, and now the mobs can spawn again, and that is that. So the clock is working, or the double clock. I need to come up with a name for this. What is it? It's a dual phase. It's a dual phase clock. So we have two phases. We have a short phase, and then we have the longer phase, which is roughly a minute or two. Now, if I need more time to let mobs spawn, I can always add more blocks, into this timer, and that will basically make the system wait longer before it washes the mobs off again. And this one I won't need to change because 16 blocks is long enough to push all the mobs off of the pads. So the only thing I might need to adjust is how many blocks I have in this hopper timer. And I can go up to 5 blocks, or 5 stacks, obviously. That would be, I don't know how many, 10 minutes or something crazy. So anyway, so that is that. A lot of you guys were saying, why don't I build it to make it AFK? Well, now it is. So now I just need to get more mob spawning up there and get the darkness and rain to stop around here, because that is just too much. It's preventing a lot of mobs from being in the area. Should probably go light up some of these dark overhangs as well. to make sure we get the most mobs spawning. So anyway, that is that. I hope you guys like it. Please sum it up if you did like it. I would appreciate it. And we will see you guys next time.